but you are not sure actually যে তুমি actually কি submit করেছো. You have submitted a report, that's fine, but we have said like you should include your program as well, that the flag actually you have drawn. Now, is there anything that you still not very confident? Don't worry about that. Okay, sir, how I can say like I have submitted it, I have done it. Now I'm not very sure actually. That's what I have done. You can, yes, Shakil.
স্যার আমার অ্যাসাইনমেন্ট ছিল নাইডের ফ্ল্যাগটা, তো ওখানে একটা কাজ ছিল যে হচ্ছে পলিগন আঁকতে হবে 12 পয়েন্টের পলিগন।
Shakil, I cannot hear you properly. The first thing, I just check your microphone that it's not very. It was a little bit clear. Yeah, you need to speak. Then only I can.
Is it clear now?
Yeah, it is better. Yeah, it is better.
Okay, sir. স্যার আমার যে অ্যাসাইনমেন্টটা ছিল ওটা নাইডের ফ্ল্যাগ ছিল, ওখানে একটা পার্টে একটা পলিগন ছিল 12 পয়েন্টের পলিগন। তো বেসিক্যালি আমরা তো হচ্ছে নরমালি যেটা পারি স্টার আঁকতে পারি বা এই টাইপের ফাংশন গুলো পারি, বাট পলিগনটা আমি আসলে পারি না আর কি আঁকতে, ওইটা আমার জন্য অনেক বেশি কমপ্লিকেটেড হয়ে গেছে। তো আমি সেখানে দুইটা রেক্টেঙ্গেল দিয়ে 8 পয়েন্টের আঁকার চেষ্টা করেছিলাম।
Okay, no, I that's fine, Shakil. That's actually the way you have actually managed. So there's no problem in that. I said, those of you, you whenever you have actually drawn the two rectangle as you have said, or maybe one triangle to one rectangle, or maybe some other way that you have actually managed to draw. But is there some concern that how this actually program is working? This is very important to understand that how this program is working. And more or less, we know that at this moment, you all know that how a program actually work in the computer, right? Especially if it is a program basically from C program, as you know that how it works, or C++. This is the way the object-oriented methodology that you apply for your other programming concern, that is different. But this is something like a simple program, as you can see drawing for a rectangle, right? As I hope that all of you know that how this program has been done. Just give it a look for a few minutes and you tell me that the basic structure of this program, that you have any concern. So does anyone have any concern in here that about this program?
Sir, only understood how to plot on the graph and on the pixel, and how we can pick the color in it. That's what we understood so far.
Okay.
Like,
all right.
Basically, we found the structure from Google, so we only understood that things. Then we plot our flag that way. Like here.
I can so far remember that from drawing this kind of object already I have given you some code, right, in a tutorial.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So was that actually helpful? Means did you find there that those codes, especially the function that you are going to use, why you are use those function, actually that is actually the concern, how you are actually using your vertex, or giving the values of the vertex, how actually it's actually plotting in which position of those the value, as you can see on that green of that rectangle. So there are many of those objects you had in that tutorial especially.
Yes, sir.
Did you have some kind of concern, that did you understand properly how that is working?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's actually Ashik. Okay, that's fine. I'm actually more concerned about those of you, if any one of you like those, because look, why I'm actually stressing at this moment, আমি এক্সপেক্ট করব তোমাদের অ্যাসাইনমেন্ট যেটা প্রজেক্টের মতো করতে যাবে এখন, যে একটা সিম্পল একটা ইমেজ ফাইল, যেখানে হয়তো 2-4-5টা অবজেক্ট থাকবে। সেই অবজেক্টগুলোর মধ্যে কোন একটা অবজেক্ট, say like a car is actually moving from one corner to another corner, it's been going. Now if we have actually say like every section 40-50 students, then as we are making actually two people as a group, so you need to at least start working with something, because this is, I know that many of you help actually your friend. Now if you help, that time actually student doesn't know, actually they don't take that as seriously. আমি চাচ্ছি যে তোমরা at least ট্রাই করো কিছু, এবং ওই সিম্পল অ্যানিমেশন ওই কাজটুকু একটু করো, যে এখান থেকে ওটুকু যাচ্ছে, সেটা নিজে যখন করতে যাবে, দেন ইউ নিড টু লার্ন at least these basic things.
So honestly, if I say, when I did my one, I didn't understand so many things, but when I help other, this concept was much clear.
Yeah, that's very good. That's actually you are benefited, right? But what
Yes,
about
sir.
your that friend? That is actually the concern, right? So that's why I'm actually trying to stress that, okay, let's the work be very simple, but at least you will spend few days to learn these things. তো সেই জন্য যেমন আমাদের একটা সেকশনে যদি 46 স্টুডেন্ট আছে সাপোজ, সো 23 ডিফারেন্ট ওয়ার্ক শুড বি ডান। সো আশা করা যাবে যে 23টা ডিফারেন্ট কাজ হবে প্রজেক্টের জন্য। সো তোমার ইমেজটা ডিফারেন্ট হবে, তোমার ফ্রেন্ডের ইমেজ ডিফারেন্ট হবে। সো এইটা যদি হয়, দেন ইউ নিড টু ডু সামথিং বাই ইউর ওন। So basically, end of the day, তোমার এই স্কিল গুলো তো লাগবে। If you go for actually after passing out in graduation, you need to have your programming skill. So basic programming skill here, that is there anyone have any concern that how this is actually working, how this main function is actually working in main function, what actually the main function, how the function has been called different function for the reason that what actually it is, how this image has been created. As you can see that slightly different, the graphics work is slightly different than the other actually programming that you do. In the console that you get the output, that is different. This is actually a simple different window has been created completely, right? And it has a very strong relationship, graphics work with your hardware, directly in your hardware. Okay, so that you can see that what actually your RAM would be get that with this color mode what it should be, and all these things has been defined. Okay. Now for this purpose, like you can see that like GL Vertex, these are what many thousands of actually function we are simply using in this program and nothing else, right? So whenever you are actually trying to create something on the screen, you are using many number of function. You can see how we can know this is function, because they are actually having the convention of function, like function name and সাথে এই bracketer মধ্যে parameter value, that we know that this is the way the function can be invoked, right? And this coming from all from that header file, coming from those the glut file, as we have added, as you know, from the library. Now this function, like someone is actually for GL, someone is actually having the glut GL UT, right? Then definitely they have some actually relationship, and some does not have actually anything. Then what actually it is then, right? So this is more or less like the working function inside the function. You can see it's calling the function as a parameter in this function here. So this is actually the basic understanding that you have or not. I believe that you have, because already you are master in few programs, I know, for programming language. So definitely you do. Now this basic concept is can be applied in actually image that you have in even in animation is there as well. So that is actually again the basic concept, nothing else. As you know that is structured programming is based on actually a main function that actually call many other functions. So function inside function, maybe that actually we're calling, and it has been actually executed. In between you have the logic that is different for the structure, that for the logic you are going to use. Now for this basic function, I'll try to actually explain that one. I want actually wanted to get some question. তোমরা যদি মানে এখানে জিজ্ঞেস করতে যে স্যার এই জিনিসটা কেন বা এই জিনিসটা আসলে কি, তাহলে আরো বেটার হতো। I think that would be better learning way. And more or less, like, that I believe that definitely if you have some confusion that how this program is actually working from the main function, you already have some idea that actually how this program starts. As you can see that the function for GLUT, the function for GL, they have some certain levels. Okay, so I'll quickly let me discuss from the very beginning. Then I'll come back in that program. We'll discuss some of the function there. Then we'll go to in OpenGL for actually checking some of the transformation activity as well. As you know that we have started the transformation, that is transformation function with those how they can be applied in the program, so that actually a simple image you can actually generate, and some object that you can have some movement, that maybe we can finally come to know. Okay, so at first let us go for this OpenGL. We already know it is kind of what, an API, right? Application for programming interface. So we know that some kind of helping hand that actually giving in the user level programs that already you have, the system is actually offering. So mostly day by day, that updated programming language that you are going to use, they are actually more or less you are using those facilities of that programs. Hardly you need to write a very complex code. So the API, this is actually also OpenGL, that graphics library, that is actually it's called, also a header file. Okay, and usually it has actually three layers of that abstraction. That is actually GL, GLU, and GLUT. Okay, these three levels or layers of abstraction. GL is actually that gl.h. You know that with this code blocks, automatically it has that gl.h, or even the glue.h, but glue was not available. That is more advanced, so we actually hired that one to work with that. Now gl.h actually provide the basic commands of the graphics drawing, that GL. So that function, that program, already you have seen that some of the function where actually that belongs to that GL. Now whenever we have that graphics library, that GL, the basic commands means very initial level that commands that you are actually drawing a line. So you are taking two vertex for that. Okay, so GL vertex, that function that actually you are using. When you have little bit actually more advanced function for the graphics, like advancements, what that is the image you have created now, that it has some actually perspective, that where actually from you are seeing that image. So actually the viewing perspective, that is called, that function, if you want to use, that belongs to actually the glue. Okay, that glue.h. So that this function you will get like GLU perspective, and that some have some parameter. Now you can understand this is actually coming from maybe higher level that h file. Okay, and furthermore actually the highest level that file, which are more related with the system mostly, like your operating system or creating that window interfacing management system, they are actually coming from the GLUT. So in the main function, you have said that there are many of those function are coming from GLUT, the highest level. Okay, like GLUT sub buffers related with that actually the memory. Now these three layers of that naming convention of the function, you can understand what level or complexity of that function for the graphics it can help. Okay, like you can see that OpenGL, that implementation, how we can do it, the gl.h, glue.h, and glute.h, it actually covered the other one as well, because the function of that glute or glue, like a glue a function, say like glue look at a function, that which point from that actually you are looking at the image, that function is actually made with many number of function of GL. That means certain level to level that you are actually comprising or combining the lower level of those primitive functions, and then actually you are getting higher level of those functions. Okay. um, Then function names indicate argument type and number. This is a common one, like ending with f, take floats. These are the actually data type they take, as you have seen already. The float type data, integer type data, um, bytes or unsigned bytes, or maybe the array like GL color 3f. It's indicating three float type of data that is you can actually enter as a parameter here. Okay. This pipelining, I will try to come back in this portion. Actually, we have another chapter that time, maybe few function of this, maybe we can discuss this. We'll look at the perspective, how actually we can see the image. There are some parameters
Guys, can you hear, sir? আমার নেট গেছে, holy crap.
from different angle. If you go for your view, then actually how it looks like. Then you go for one angle to another angle, we cannot see something, we can see maybe some hidden things, right? That actually you need to clip that time. So clipping activity. Then you go for shading and texture, object to object, that shading and texture will be different according to the light. Then you go for projection, take that on the digital format in the rasterization in the pixel base, and then finally you take that for your device, that in the viewport transformation, that how actually it will be look like in a bigger screen, a smaller screen, a
Hello,
different
sir.
aspect ratio, and so on. Yes. Actually, more or less, it will be more actually discussive. I am not that much interested in recording session. We have some concern in the recording about any class, because if I put that, if it is distributed according to the university session, should be actually like a class banner, that if this record goes, it has to be exactly according to the IUAT policy. So I'm not actually doing the video. Maybe I'm not in proper in dress code. or many other reason. Maybe that's why I'm actually not interested about the recording. I want all of you to have some actually concentration or focus on it. Okay. If you have some network issue, it's not a big trouble. You may have disruption again. You come back, no problem. Okay. But try to get it like what actually we do discuss. All right. And if it is
Okay,
feeling
sir.
like something we need to do recording, I'll give you some actually content from here. So definitely you will get it. So also that can help. Okay. All right.
Thank you, sir.
This is the pipelining. We'll discuss that later. So you can see here that there are many of those functions that already you have used in there. Let me go in that program basically to discuss some of the part. These things already you have seen. I believe that you have also tried with actually some of the codes in the tutorial that with that. And finally, this one is actually the program that we are going to discuss. Look at this here for in the main function. That is also for your flag you have done. So, okay, let me record, then maybe we'll see. For that here, in the main function, we know that in the main function is actually that starts to execute and it can actually start to call actually the other function in there. This entire body is actually having more or less like all our glued functions. One is actually user defined function. That is actually our function that we are calling. What we are going to draw, we are going to draw a rectangle, okay, or quadrangle, that is says as we know, or maybe we can draw with the polygon as well, that if we have the full order point. Now for this rectangle we are going to draw, you see that in output there is actually a different screen has been created, so that whenever one of your flag program that actually has been um, executed, that time that new screen has been open, right? So that screen or a window is actually open for the output. That is actually one of the concern that we do. The display mode for initialized display mode that they do for actually glued single and glued RGB, that is actually by default the single buffer, and for the color is actually the RGB that is going to use. So that whenever we do it, we by default we mostly use for this one. Otherwise it can be glued double or
Sir, is it height and width, sir?
it is definitely height and width, but what is the 200 feet or 200 centimeter or inch, or what is that?
Pixel,
The
sir.
pixel, sir?
It could be pixel, as you said, right?
Yes, sir.
And that pixel is indicating actually your existing that actually resolution that actually having in your screen. So that's why I said, look, this is how actually directly related with your hardware. Okay, so it is actually taking the 200 of that size. So if we go for an example, say I have just opened one of that, maybe for this one. So look at in this here for what actually this I have taken for window size is 476 and 477. So if you just actually hover the mouse on that, you can see that it says integer width and integer height, right? And that width and height is actually number of that pixel it can generate. So this is actually the screen, as you can see, which is actually giving me that height, that 476, 477, maybe almost like the same of that size that we get. That is coming out of entire of that my pixel that actually we have in my screen. And the next function, it says that glued init position 250 250, which is taking that x and y coordinate. Can you tell me that why are actually that 250 250 I'm getting? That initialized that screen or window position.
Sir, didn't get your question indeed.
Sir, from
You
left
see
upper
that
side.
this, yeah, glued init window position, this function, and we take randomly that actually value. Like this one, it's take maybe 100, 100. Okay, and that one, this program, I have taken actually
Sir, maybe
250,
it's
250.
taking the padding from the space from top to the object, most
So
probably.
you see that whenever I execute that one, I have not moved my window, right? So this window has been actually now created with that specific size, and it is actually that this position is actually 200, 200 this point from the topmost left corner, as this is actually my 0, 0, right, the origin point. So from that corner, this is actually the 200, 200 that corner, 200 for x coordinate, 200 for y coordinate, and actually I got that. So you can actually, whatever the position you want to actually start your window position, that init, you see that init, initialize window position, that actually you can start with, right? Then we are actually telling the group that create window, as these all are actually highest level work for, so that this function, the code, you can imagine that could be how much complex it can be. So create a window that the translation that actually should take actually the character, as you can see that this character type data, so that it's put down in that quotation mark. Then I have a user defined data, which is actually called the initialize, and that user defined data, definitely as it is, I can check my code where I have actually defined it. Yes, I have defined it here. So just calling that function in main, that means creating a link here. And this initialize data, that void type, return type that data, and in between I have some other activity that actually I'm doing. So now initialize indicating the screen what actually I'm going to initialize. Okay. So at the very beginning, whatever actually I can see in my initialize screen, that what I am doing, the first thing I'm doing that GL clear color, right? So GL clear color, that means it's a lower level of that function. It is going to actually clear the color level, what actually the color level is talking about, and having 4 of the parameter. Okay. Now this is actually, you can see that checking that red, green, blue, that means RGB, and final that is alpha. Okay, so GL clear color is actually a function which is actually taking your first initial that is screen, and that actually finally that alpha is actually it's called your what is called the clear of that screen, that how clear, or maybe we can say that after the brightness, that how bright or purely we can actually see. So either it can be, one is the highest value, so it should be clear, and according to your RGB combination of the color, that actually you can check it. Okay, so you can say there that the clear color, that alpha is actually give you the transparency of that object, so that you can alpha to be 0 is fully transparent, or also you can give the value is 1. Okay, and at the very beginning, that whenever before you are calling your function for drawing on the screen, that whether you are actually before going for the drawing, that next function is actually you are going to draw, that what actually the skin at the beginning that want to have. So 111, as you can see here, that our skin is actually background is actually one white color, right? So that actually that is 111 that we have. Now in that GL matrix, GL projection, that is by default that actually we are going to do, because in this image now we are actually, that is, you see that enumerator mode, that enumeration actually this is a variable. So GL projection, it is another actually that by default function, that which is going to take actually our matrix of that formation that we are going to do, and that finally that also will load identity. So if you don't use that, still you will not find any problem here of those functions. Okay, if you just simply use that clear color, as you can see that in this program, and also you can use that ortho GL ortho that function, then we also would be fine. There is no problem. Okay. Now the GL ortho is actually important. So like let us discuss this one, then we are going it again. What actually this program says GL ortho is actually having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 of the parameters that we have, and having that -2, 2 and that value. All of you that you have actually done your assignment as well, that is also actually use that function, right? That GL ortho.
Yes, sir.
Right. So what actually this function offer?
Sir, it indicates the largest value of x-axis on the right side and the left side, and y-axis value on the upper side and lower side.
Right. Very good. Yeah, that's right. That this is actually doing what at the very beginning of your screen. That is, this is your screen is now defining in the standard that graphics format. Okay, because now you are going to have your object, and that need to be allocated in different location. If you don't make that actually that x and y axis, that how actually you do it. Now this has been actually done. You can see the parameter here. What actually it says? The parameter says actually that left, right. So this is maybe left, this is right, this is actually the bottom, this is the top, and this is actually the far value and or near value and far value. So kind of a 3 dimension that actually is going to give. Now this is actually by default the value. You will not actually fill it unless we are using the 3-dimensional object. That is kind of that give us actually the depth, the z values actually for that. So this could be for the x coordinates, the y coordinates, and this could be for the z coordinates. So your GL ortho is very important function defining your actually that screen. So maybe somewhere in between there is actually the origin point. The left hand side have 100 that of boxes. Okay, right side has 100 of that boxes. So that negative 100, positive 100, then actually the negative 100 and positive 100, and actually that near value is -10 that's getting, and the far value is actually +10. So inside that box actually that today as well in the cube shape, whenever we have seen in the cube shape that how actually we can have that homogeneous coordinate, right? Today when we are actually discussing about that. So that's GL ortho is now your that screen has been ready now. Now we go for actually glued that function, which is going to call back your user defined function. Okay, so whatever the function you are going to draw, so that actually you go for that function to where actually you have what actually you have defined it there. You can see here this one for the translation. We are coming in that. Let's check in here that what they have done for that rectangle, and they have actually in my display. You see that they have actually called that my display, that one, the display function. That GL clear, the GL color buffer bit. So before drawing, actually they are clearing actually the memory that actually what you have. Okay, so that your code will be then executed, especially for the color. So next one is actually depend upon your object, that what you are going to draw. For this one, we are going to draw an object, single object. So that object's color has been defined, and it's a GL color, the 3F, indicating the float value maybe you are going to actually use. So that fraction maybe. So we have 0.0, then 1, then 0.5. The 3 of the combination. So red, green, blue. So some kind of green and blue is combined in here at this image. So that is not pure blue, green. It's green and blue actually mix up. So that color maybe you're going to work. Now for that one, you can see here now in coming in that quads that actually you are going to draw a actually rectangle. That one should be for, yes, should be for you can use many actually function. You can use the polygon as well for draw. You can use rect. Actually there is another function. We'll see that that is far better and easier to draw. Now this one, what actually the values are actually passing for the vertex, because the ortho for this program that has been actually defined the screen only for actually very small value that they have taken, like 2 minus 2 and plus 2. So minus 2 plus 2, like this way they have done. So highest maybe we can take actually our pixels, our coordinates in our image, entire image for the objects should be for in between that orthogonal, that value that has been I have defined, right? So that's why actually the value you can see under 2. If it is minus 2 or if it is plus 2, that is actually the highest or lowest range that we can have. So that this is then actually the decimal number they have been defined here for 110, that the point. So we can assume this is maybe 0 0, so 1 1, that means 1 and 1. So this point first, then actually they go for minus 1 1, so that means actually this point, okay, and then go for minus 1 minus 1, and finally they go for 1 and minus 1, okay. So that's actually should be D also. Actually it cannot it will not create trouble for that one. Then create a actually your that object is a rectangle, a box, okay. And finally gln, that is begin and end, is a kind of a loop when actually you use that. And the gl flash is actually every time whenever it has been done, it create actually the flashing, as you know, that it takes out that whatever you have in the buffer. So these functions, there are some actually explanation, some of this function in here, that what are they and how they can be used, more or less we have discussed. Like gl clear, we have seen that the gl clear for the buffer, they actually clear the screen. Ortho, already we have seen that that 6 of the parameter are actually for that left right, that especially your entire that image that you are going to draw, that is actually put in a cube, that box, okay. That orthogonal, actually the orthogonal in the other sense we can say that you can see like some architectural design. We also have one design in the in actually in IVT at the lower, uh, um, in the ground floor maybe, right? It was somewhere, I forgot. Maybe the design of IVT, there is actually put down in a glass box, right? Have you seen that one, anyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
right. You see that is actually an orthogonal projection. Means actually what? The entire of those objects, they are actually having a proportional sizes, like those buildings, like the distances between building to building, kind of a model, the architectural model they do. Now, whenever they put down in a space, in some of the like a glass box or something, then actually what actually happen, we consider from any point that we want to see, the view should be almost like same. Means it does not actually change, okay. I think it will be more clear of this one to see, like this one. You see that whenever we see something, and if it is a 3-dimensional view, you see that what actually we have, that 3-dimensional scene, one object is actually behind another object, right? But this is a 2-dimensional screen. How I can actually believe that this is possible, right? So what actually happened, this is actually the viewing frustum, that this is actually something can create into our actually viewing perspective, right? So that actually we can see. Now this is this can be actually seen that it's that projection. We'll go ahead and tell one. Like that, this perspective projection, as you can see the sizes, which is actually you can see the object according to the size that actually you can see as per of the distance, that is actually the perspective projection. But whenever actually you can see that whatever the size it has, exactly that size you can see or you want to see, that is actually called the parallel projection. Sometimes in the model inside that they do actually that the parallel projection, okay. And this is actually the perspective blue perspective one, that function. This is actually GL ortho, as you can see that they create actually the volume, that viewing volume. That was actually I was telling that why the architectural model they put down in a glass box and try to actually show like this way. You can see here that this is your actually viewing screen. On that screen that you can see now, whatever that I am going to create the screen, my screen I am actually assuming like that, and that is actually that left and right side, that means in the origin point in here, so bottom and top, just we have taken in this example is -2 plus 2 -2 plus 2, and that -2 and +2 that has been considered for actually the depth. Now in orthogonal projection, that the near plane and the far plane, that actually that has been taken for the depth. So whenever it is a depth, definitely that the z-axis also have some kind of actually length, and it is saying in the orthogonal projection that this one is kind of actually you can see the same, okay, not the difference. You see the perspective one, we have just seen the perspective one, that is actually it actually changed, because you might have this point and this point, the focus has been actually expanded according to some degree. So that's why it has some actually different parameter, but when it is actually the orthogonal, that is actually having this left, right, top, bottom, top, and near far, that actually the projection. So whenever we have that one, that orthogonal, that according to that we already define that what actually our existing that coordinate we are going to have. According to that we are having the value for my points or the object that we are going to take. The GL flush, we have already seen that flush is actually used at the end. So it's if it is forces actually previously issued OpenGL commands to begin the execution, so that they want to actually execute, they force actually the OpenGL commands to do it, and it returns before the execution ends, and function forces execution of OpenGL functions in finite time. GLUT swap buffer that automatically calls the GL flash. So if you actually call that function, it automatically calls that GL flash function. Then it's not necessary to call it. Finish previously issued OpenGL commands sorry, to complete, and does not return until all effect from previous commands are fully realized. So you can find like these are actually kind of a conventional structure for this type of functions. You need to use it whenever actually like you finish a function, that time you flush it or you GL finish it, GL level function there. But important one is actually GLUT swap buffers. It has not been used in here, but it actually used in the bigger programs when you have many object and the animation as well, like post redisplay. This is also that is the say like whatever you have actually seen in that image, that constantly can be actually redisplayed. Okay, and it is actually a GLUT level function, so higher level function. GLUT init we have already said. Okay, one thing as actually you are concerned as well, that this function, this one is not has been used for the main function, but I in my program I have actually used it, like this one,
ও পড়া গেছিলাম
that GLUT init for the integer main, especially in C++, we do it commonly, right? That this is the counter and the vector. What actually it is? Can anyone tell that what actually this parameter or what is the relationship with that? Especially in the main function that we do or call these parameters. Can anyone tell? Yes, Ashik? Ashik, Shakil?
No, sir, I can explain it well.
But any idea that actually, because you have used that many times, right?
Yes, sir.
And we had around 100 people. You see, 17 people have gone, 83 now. Anyway, Fabiha, anything about this is a counter. What is ARG indicate?
No, sir.
Argument.
Sorry?
ARG stands for argument.
Yeah, definitely argument. An argument counter and argument vector there. So what are they actually?
Variable.
Yeah, variable. Okay, yes. Very good. They are variable, definitely variable, because parameters are coming as like variable, right? Can
Yes, sir.
it come anything else in the parameter? Alamin? Without variable in the parameter of a function, can come anything else?
So normally in function parameter, we create a function, then pass it in the body of that
For
function.
object or variable there, sir? Does there
Yes,
any
sir.
question, any code behind those? Could you just scroll down a bit more?
So pointer.
Yeah, that is a pointer type of variable. That's right. Now, what actually I'm saying, yes, you can have according to your function in the main, whatever you have. Say like this is main, but any function, these all are actually function here, nothing else. You can see different values, right? Different values that you have, and these values depend not always actually the variable. When you define the function, that time actually this is actually called one. Now when the main has been called, that main will be called actually in different area maybe or different way when it
Yes, sir.
goes for execution, right? Like this function you are actually calling here, but it is not the definition. This is the main function's definition here. Now whenever in this function, that this is actually the parameter with that you are actually calling it. That is called the function in invoking the function, right? Calling that function that we understand. Now this is like character type, that actually character value you have actually entered in there. This is maybe the integer type of that value that actually you have entering in here, right? Now my concern is, if they are a variable, that what type of variable are they, or what type means actually what is the objective of this variable? Like this one is
Maybe,
actually
sir,
definitely the
inside the
yeah,
main function, there is two variable, integer and character. When we're putting the value, maybe that code has upward. When we're putting the value, that that value is taking inside this parameter, and according that value, the main function code are running.
right.
Yes,
This is
sir.
actually the command line argument. Okay, I expect like look, this is whenever you learn programming from the very basic. These are actually the important thing. Even if you are using now Python, then you try to look at the structure of that program, how actually it is working, which function is actually helpful, which can give you the best value, that is different. But before that, you need to understand the structure first. This is very important for being actually expert in the program. So that what will happen, you need to know for every single bit of that component why it is using, what is the reason. So that this is, you know, that in C++ you have done so many times, you have used it. Now you are not very sure that why you have used it, because no one asked you, right? Because it was not necessary. But how do you know that in your interview board will not be asked, right? So you need to know. So in the main function, when actually the program start the execution, that very first point, it try to take your command line argument. You give the input, right? How a program start to work, it when you actually give the necessary input, then they process it, and then they give the output, also come back to the actually console to give you the output, right? So this is actually give you that what actually you write in the input, that argument command, and that how many of them and what actually the value they are actually they stored, and they can be later executed. Okay, so that's actually that command line argument and all these things.
Sir, So it's like the printer machine that what fruit we are putting on the machine that the output it's giving.
Yes. Okay. You can take it as an example, but actually, what you do sometimes you give the function start with the input program you started to give, right?
Yes,
But
sir.
for this program, as it is actually every program, a main function is going to be executed. It does not start automatically, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
you need to actually give some command.
Input. Yes, sir.
That command has been actually by default has to be taken, and the main function actually store it. It's not necessary always to do it for all the program to execute, but many cases it is do. Like this is actually what no parameter, that main function, right? But you see that it is still a returning type parameter variable it has. So that's why actually you are returning 0. Okay, so this function as a parameter is not taking it. It may actually give you, but commonly the basic structure is actually you use that command line, that definition. Okay. And what function we are talking about? Yes, that is actually used. You see that glut init initialize, that is used for initializing the glut library. During this process, glut init may cause the termination of the glut program with an error message to the user if glut cannot be properly initialized. Examples of this situation include the failure to connect the Windows system, the lack of Windows system support for OpenGL, and invalid command line options. So that initialize function is always better to call, so that it actually, before starting your program to creating the window and all these things, you see the next phase is coming from creating the window. So before that, everything they do initialize. If there is an error, then actually it creates trouble. Glut init display mode. Okay, that is actually the mode we have already seen. Either can be RGB or glut index, single or glut double. They can actually take. We have taken actually the single and RGB. That is by default. It has been actually take the parameter. This one, that glut single and glut RGB, that the initialized display mode. Then window position already discussed, window size, create window, that is also the name that we have seen. Glut main loop, one of the function that is actually very important. As is this one has been used? Maybe yes, glut main loop has been called. What actually it does, you see that this is as it is about the image. So even we can actually see in the display. So what actually you can have, you see that the three of that component, that input output, are actually relevant here with that keyboard, mouse, and the display with the operating system. So whatever event you are going to use, like I have an image, or maybe I have on the image have some animation work as well, that can be controlled by the keyboard or maybe with the mouse as well. So that that event also have some queue, because that has to be called back again to show in the display. Okay, so that in the main loop is a function. That glut main loop is actually by default function. So it actually processes that events. Okay, and should be called at most once in the glut program. And once called, this routine will never return. It will call as necessary any callbacks that have been registered. So this function actually take that callback function of those events automatically. So this at least once actually you should call that glut main loop, that function. Okay, reshape function, display function. Okay, we don't have that directly. Keyboard function we have, we are going to actually check with that keyboard and also the mouse function for it. And this is actually that sample program that we have discussed. More or less it's not that much anything special or different. We'll go for actually some program to check. Let me go in there with otherwise we'll not manage the time. About the translation, if you can remember in the translation actually what we have done, if you can remember that this is actually kind of a displacement, right, from one point to another point. So you can see here that what actually we are going to have of that translation. So that one of the object I have taken here, the output already you can see. That object, look at in the draw function what actually I have done. The object I have created a rectangle. Actually I have created a rectangle is actually having that value. Now the rectangle function, the advantage is with only one line with 4 of that value of the point, you can actually create it. How it is possible? Because I need only x1 y1 value and x2 y2 value. Even though one rectangle, if you want to draw, say like you are going to actually draw that one for a rectangle, what actually the points you need to have, like we need actually that 4 of the points, right?
Yes, sir.
But in this function you are actually using only 2 of the points coordinate value. Now how it is possible? So if we consider this is actually my x and y coordinate, so like this is x and this is y coordinate, think about this point. Say like this point is having coordinate is actually 3 and 1. Okay, this is actually have 3 and 1. It's very difficult to write in the mouse actually. Okay, and then what should be the coordinate for this one? Say like 9 for the x coordinate, and y
1.
is 1, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, for this point, this x coordinate should be what?
3.
3, and maybe this is actually the y coordinate is 8, right? And this is actually say like 9 and
And 8.
8, right? Now you see that what actually how many points are common. So we have only actually 4 points here. If you just check, the 4 points is actually what? 4 coordinate values are actually one, like 3 for x1, okay, for x2 is actually 9, for y1 is actually 1, and y2 is actually 8. So x1, x2, y1, x1, y1, x2, y2. If we can have this 4 of this point, if you give, this rectangle can be drawn. That is actually applied in here, nothing else. Okay. So for drawing this one, that rectangle I have actually used, you see that the orthogonal, that value I have taken 100, 100. So it's quite a long one. I have taken 100, 100 because I have actually done something different here. That's why for this 2020 is I have taken for that box. So this box is actually indicating the red one. You can see the color is 100. So the red one is actually taken for that -20 and +20. So from the origin point that I have actually done. So whenever I have done that one, so it is actually created exactly on the middle, right? And that's actually the box done. My object is created. Now I will try to apply the transformation function, which is translate. Now what actually we are going to do, we will take the entire object. So that entire object will be entered in a matrix. Okay, so that's why we use a function called push matrix, which is also actually coming from the GL. Okay, and that push matrix, if you use, then at one point you also have to actually pop out the matrix. Okay, so one actually will GL matrix, whenever we'll do our activity, and we'll actually pop out as well that function. Okay, now the push matrix is actually taking the translate if. You see that this is actually my that function for the translation. What actually we have seen today, even in the translation, that we can actually do it on up to changes up to x coordinate and y coordinate, right? If you can remember,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
right? Dx or dy or dx or dy. So what actually it's going to do is doing actually for the individual all the points, x coordinate value will be added with that x coordinate value, and y coordinate value will be added with the y coordinate value. Whenever we are entering that matrix, this object entirely has been actually entered in the matrix. Now this translate, this f is indicating actually the float value that I can take. So that's actually the data type in here. So z, usually we are having z by default, but we are not actually putting any value. But what actually I'm doing in the x coordinate, I am actually having a movement. So that's why I have a value for the x value, which is 50. So what is actually happened in the output, you can see this one I am doing actually that 50, that one I am actually moving. Now, before that, I have actually defined the color, which one should be the green color. Okay, so that green color, that box, I have actually moved in here. Now, do you think that I have created a new box here? No.
No, sir.
This is actually the advantage of that transformation function. I only created one actually that object here, and that object is actually defined in here, that the value is the same value for that one, for rectangle. That same point, a box has been created. That box is actually that color of that one. Okay, and it's been in here. Now I have actually drawn 3 different one to make you understand easier, that's why. But if you need to have actually many number of boxes, you can just use that value, and in the center you just create the same shape of the boxes and you put it in anywhere you want to do it. So this one is actually used that 50 actually unit of the x coordinate, it has been actually moved. The next one actually I have done another one, which is that 0.5, 0.5, that means actually a different color, half of red, create some kind of actually that I think what color it could be named, I'm not sure. So that color has been in the left, you can see it's having that minus 50, that translation value for the x coordinate you have done. So what actually happened, it has been actually moved in from that 0 origin to that minus 50, some of the point in there, that has been the entire object has been moved. Okay, and finally use that GL flush. So this is actually has been there. Now if you want to change that one, like for any value, say like I want to show that in a different place, not only that x coordinate one, say like I'm going to use that in 50-50 for that one, maybe the green one maybe. So you can see that it has been actually changed this location now, that 50-50. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so you can use create any object, and you can actually put down in anywhere with that we already said displacement of that object, right? That means not changing the size. The translation function does not change the size. It only actually the same size object you can actually put in anywhere, how many if you want. So that if you have some star, you create a star, and then actually you put that in different place, that you need to know that where actually you can put it, right?
So,
Okay, so this is one of the one in translation we have seen. Then we check for rotation. I have a tutorial about this one. Okay, so I'll actually upload that one as well. But in tutorial, that program, I have actually modified little bit of the values in there. It's only showing one object, but I am trying to put actually more objects so that it will be better to understand in the program. So you just check that one. Which one I have opened? Just the rotation. Okay, you can see here that the rotation, you can remember what actually happened in the rotation function. It actually changed what our orientation of the object, right? So I have actually created, let's check actually the first what I have done in the main function. I have taken a window size, the same one with your position like 250, name is rotation, and then call that draw function. Before that, initialize. What I have done in the initialize, the white background, and that load identity, that's fine. Ortho is the same size, so nothing actually changed in here. In the view file, that what actually I have done, I have actually started with drawing a GL push matrix. That color is actually the red one, and that has been actually used that object, which is I have created minus 40, 40 with that actually the size, and 0, 0. Now you can see that the object I have created is actually created like, which is 0, 0, that has been, and in minus 40 and plus 40, that is actually I have got. So maybe an object in between, like the center point should go like this way. Okay, so that I moved little bit. I also used actually some translator here, multiple actually that one have been used, otherwise it it will be in the same position, all three of them. So I have used some
Yes, sir.
translation function here just to move little bit in side by side, so that it is not all three coming in the one point. Okay. So first of one is actually color A, that one, the point size. Okay, I have taken 1 point, the black point. A black point, you can see a 1 point, because I want to actually mention to see the changes of that point. That's where actually it has. The first one is actually that which is the rectangle. I have used the red one. Okay, that red one, I did not do any rotation function here. I just only simply created a object. Now I will rotate that one. Okay, that same object. That rotate, before that I put one of the point in the one corner to identify the age of that box or the object, that which one actually have the age. Now the point size is fine. That is actually size, the depth you can actually consider. Now the GL point, that is actually one of the location I have taken in the corner, like 38 and plus 38, that one, as you can see, as it is actually minus 40 and 40, that point, the corner one. So just before that one that I have taken. Then I go for actually our main activity. I started to rotate that one. GL rotate that actually 45, and that 45 degree. And it should be actually by default, when you don't have any sign, that means actually positive rotation. When you have a positive rotation, that means a counterclockwise. So it will go like this way, right? So it will go like this way. And it is actually rotated 45 degree in here. Okay, and you can see here that what is actually the rotate function offer for that parameter value is again with that angle. The first, the value it goes, that means this 45 is angle, then the x coordinate, y coordinate, and the z coordinate. Okay, the z coordinate value is 1, indicating that it is like a homogeneous coordinate. Okay, and 0 0 indicating what? 0 0 indicating what is actually your origin point. So where actually it has been, we already even today we are discussing, for rotation you must need a point one. Based of that, the angle would be counted. Okay, so my this object that actually I have on that origin point, it actually have a 45 degree rotation on the counterclockwise. Okay, from that 0 0, and 1 is actually by default, because z depth we are not actually considered, right? So that it is, we are considering always we have a 1 for that. And the rectangle that actually we are going to, the same rectangle, that one. And now what actually it would be, the color actually it is created, as you can see that what is called okay, that one, after drawing that, I actually translated that one at the very beginning. Otherwise, we cannot actually see it in the right position. I translated minus 25 in the x coordinate value, so that actually whatever we had in the position in the center, now it will be actually changed. It will be changed with that minus 40 plus 40 and 0 0, that position, that box which is actually created. And the color has been actually the red and the blue. Mix of this one is actually the magenta color, as you can see, right? So that one, and 45 degree rotation, it has been done the positive rotation. Okay, and that's the same point. Actually, you can see whatever happens, this 38, the value, the 40, that whatever, everything has been created in here. Then through the translation function, it has been moved in here, right? Actually, this point, the location is not minus 38 and 38. The minus 30 and the 38 is actually this one. So this point, it is just showing for your understanding that it has been actually moved after that translation. But rotation happens. That's actually I wanted to actually show. Okay. So if we just consider that one for your better understanding, let us just log that translate function. Okay. Then actually what happened?
Wrong position.
You see that this is
Yes,
actually
sir.
in the same position that it is happening. Like it has been rotated of that 45 degree on the base of that origin, right? The same thing that we have done for in the next point is actually we have done a negative rotation. Okay, just I wanted to show in the same actually place. That's why we have done it. The negative position, that actually the rotation value is minus 45 degrees, so it will be actually that
Clockwise.
actually on the way on the clockwise, right? And the color has been taken a blue one, the same position that actually for the rectangle has been created with the same coordinate values. The color has been the point has been taken for the black point, and also that one with the same one. Okay, so I've just actually used that 25, the plus one, so that's why you can see that on the right hand side on that this quadrant for x coordinate, which is actually x is positive, right? So this is going for rectangle. Then I have to be quick already. I think it's too late. Where is that? Then we have for scaling. Say for scaling that one. Sorry. Look at the scaling that I tried to also show you. Today we are discussing about differential scaling, right? Uniform scaling, differential scaling, and so on. So just try to actually touch on that as well. These are all same. Nothing actually we have done up to the initialization as well. In the main function in the drawing, that we have some changes. I have actually used that red color. That one is actually our main object. Okay, and that the sizes are actually changing. The same object with the same value has been applied with different scaling factors. Also, I have used actually translation, as you can understand. Otherwise, everything will be actually on the based of the origin. So all of that object will be in the same place. So you cannot see. To see properly, I have actually moved them in different value in different color as well. So the first one I have drawn with 10x 10 that value I have actually taken the size actually. Then the next one is actually that red, green, and blue has been used for that is this one, the green and blue. I have translated with the value 40 so that you can see in here. Now scaling factor is also, it's very simple, is using that x and y value, and we did not take actually j factor as it's not three-dimensional. So 2 and 2, so x coordinate and y coordinate will be actually extended up to twice times, so that 2 and 2, so we can see actually the object is actually getting expanded with twice. So what is the x coordinate? The value is actually twice, the y coordinate also actually twice, so the object got bigger. And that pop matrix, this one is actually for this one. The second one is reduction we have done. This is called the magnification, as you can know. The reduction we have done actually another concern. You see, this is actually the uniform scaling, the 2 to the value for x and y, and this is also uniform scaling, the 0.5 0.5. So this one is actually 0.5 0.5. You see the position I have actually plot, that one is minus 40 and 20 for the translate function, the translation I have done. And for the same object as well, the same object as a blue, now reduced to that actually half of that size that it has been. And this one is actually, you can see differential scaling I have applied 2 and 3 for the scaling, and I try to put that in minus 40 in the third quadrant on that position, and having the yellow color, red and green combined actually create the yellow color that you can see. And finally I just flash it, right? So these are three basic of that function actually you can find. Then I have actually composite transformation. You check that one in composite. I think you will not find that much different here. Just let me run and show you. And this is actually, I have drawn the graph at first. There is a very two function actually you can use for drawing the graph. It's not very complex. Draw axis, that's called. And they are actually drawn the box, and I have done some kind of actually composite, means combined of that. We have not discussed yet, but we will have mathematical calculation on that. And this is actually also giving you some hints of the movement, that objects is actually having movement, if you can put that in a continuous manner. What actually I just want to show you just quick manner, that what actually we have done. We have taken a rectangle, and that rectangle I have translated some point, then I done the rotation, then the translation. Okay, now at first I have done a positive translation, you can see in the function. Then I have done a rotation, and then I have actually done the negative translation. That means I have actually sent it back. This is actually done in the composite. This is called pivot point rotation. So I think this is actually just for your understanding that multiple number of translation that actually transformation we are actually using for some reason. Because if I ask in the question that, okay, this is one of the point has been given to that 90-degree rotation, but not on the origin point, but any other point, then actually you need to do that any other point I am telling, that point I'm actually bringing this one in here. So entire coordinate is actually pulling down in here. That I'm doing 90-degree rotation. Whatever the point I get, I just move that exactly same translation that actually I have done into the return back. Then only I can get that object. So I'm just skipping this one because this one actually you will not understand unless we go for the theory. Then only we can, what actually have done, it will not be that much clear to you. But rather than the simple animation or multiple animation, that could be actually, you can see that how they can be used for this. This is actually for used for your project as well. That time you gonna work for it. You can see the object is actually rotating in a continuous manner with actually having a same point actually centering that one that it has been rotating. So what actually it's have been happening, we can see here the draw axis function. I hope that if you go through, you can also understand, but let me just discuss that how I can actually draw that axis, the entire actually that axis, that how actually I have drawn. I actually nothing but drawn the line, right? In this case, you can see here I have drawn actually line. The line should be which color? The black color, 0, 0, 0. And that line says having the value is actually what? That 4 of that values that actually I have drawn. At first I have drawn that 2 lines. These 2 lines have actually what? That 0 and -1, right? And 0 and +1. And that actually, sorry, the 0 of -1, this one, 0 of +1, that one, so that y coordinate. So this line first, and then this point and this point, -1 0 and 100 0. Sorry, -100 0 and 100 0. So that actually this 2 line has been drawn. What actually I have done, I have taken the GL line is 2. That means the depth. You can see that these are actually bold line, isn't it? So that bold line I have done for that, getting that origin for that, just for representation I have done it. Now all these lines are actually, the points are actually 0.5. Now that many line, how I can draw? Definitely I will use a loop, right? It is better to use a loop so that actually we can actually draw that one. And what actually this 2 line, I don't need to actually draw it because this is already drawn. So with this for loop, I try to skip actually this actually 2 lines when I value is actually 0. You can see that it's been actually -100 to actually goes for actually +100, right? So that many of that 2 of the side it will go. And what actually I'm doing, the white I have defined 0.5, and these points I have actually taken for that. You can see the x coordinate place and y coordinate place. And I'm trying to draw that line, all of them. Every time my implementation, I have taken actually 5 units. So this is actually 100. From here to here is 100, but you can see actually around 20 of that boxes. Because 5 of those units, as for the pixel that actually I have done in my initialization for that orthogonal function, I have taken 5 units, and actually then I'll try to do it for that. Okay. So that has been drawn. This is for the background that actually I have drawn that draw axis, that function. Okay. Now in my draw function, that is actually happening here with this red box is moving. How actually we have doing it? I have done my draw axis first, that calling the draw axis first. Okay. So that axis has been drawn. Now in the push matrix, pop matrix, inside that, in the push matrix, I got actually the translate function, I have taken that one in 2020. As you can see, the 2020 position, I have taken it. Okay. You may say like, sir, what is 2020? This is actually fourfold, because the 5 unit I have taken, right, for 1 unit. So that's why actually it is 2020. Then the rotate function I have actually used. You can see that the x value I have taken. The x value is actually what the value I defined at the very beginning is actually a float type which is initialized with 0. Okay, so my degree I have taken is actually initialized is actually with the that 0. From that, you see that later on actually I have that incremented by 0.05 that value with the degree of that angle. Okay, so that's why you can see that actually very slowly that actually it's going. As much as lower value on the angle you will take, that will be actually slowly it will go. And then that 0 from the origin, that's in the rotating on the base of that. And then the translate I have actually done in minus 2020, that is actually that back return back in there. We have done the composite activity here. So what actually we have done, we done the translation first. We take that object, we create that object in the middle, right? And from that origin point, the 45 degree, it has been actually rotated. And then actually it is put it back. Okay. So that's why you can show that in there only. And that is the rectangular box that I have been created for it. 2020 and 4040, that actually the rectangle, the position that actually I have created from that one to this one. And then grid swap buffer that called the GL flash as well. That function by default I'm actually calling it. Now this is actually going to it. Now if we just change the value in there, that what actually happens. So for that, how we can actually identify the positioner. Say like I have actually having 0.05. Say like it is 0.5. Then actually what happens? You can see that the movement, because the angle, that actually number of angle value has been changed and it has been actually increased. Now what actually the animation, do you understand? Even on our real life experience, the animation that we can see is actually millions of frames, static frames coming consecutively and create an illusion of a movement. So this is actually also hundreds of those images are continuously actually executing, so that you can see that the object is actually having a movement, right? So for better understanding, we actually reduce that the portion of that. Let's check for actually some multiple objects, that one, because I want to show you one of the project as well, so that you will have better idea. That's why a little bit doing hurry. So you can see here I have taken multiple objects and moving them in different positions, so that maybe in your project work you have something like one object, one car is going one way, another one is going another way, and they're coming back again for the maybe same way they are actually going through. So you see the movement of them, like red of that box is moving along the x coordinates or x axis, while the y or green is maybe moving more like in the y coordinate, and I have taken the blue one is going actually in the middle of the x and y coordinates. Okay, so 3 different locations I had. In the tutorial that you will find, there is maybe only one of that I had, but I put multiple in when actually I was trying to change some codes and all these things. Then I thought maybe this would be more helpful. Look at in here what actually we have done in here. Anything changed? Nothing changed. We only the draw axis, that function has been used for drawing that one, for better understanding that we have actually that axis. Now what actually I have done, I have taken actually that 2 of that x value that is greater than or equal to 100 to actually minus 100. Okay, that actually I have taken, because that value of that I am actually going to take in here. As you can see that I have taken for the translate as well, also the rotate. Earlier that I have taken for the degree value for the rotation, also I am taking that value for the translation as well, for the x coordinate value. Okay, for which object I am actually concerned about, this is for the red object, for the x coordinate value in the translation. As you can see here, for that red one is going for the x coordinate. So the changes in the translation is happening in the x coordinate. In the same time, the object is moving or rotating. That rotation I'm actually showing through that also that x coordinate for so the angle, that actually the value for that angle in here. And the rectangle has been used, a same size rectangle for 0, 0, 20, 20, a rectangle form. Here maybe a 20 size, that one. Another one is y coordinate is been doing. Which one is y coordinate having? That is the green one. You can see the green color. And that's actually having that 0, 0, 20, 20 that we have, right? And it's been actually the same one, the x coordinate, and also rotate is actually happening for that x. And that blue one, that 1, 0 is actually that is going x and y in between that the translation factor, so that it's going in between of them. Okay, the blue one, as you can see. And x is actually I'm changing with that 0.01, so a little bit in slower movement that actually we can have. That's actually I'm going to use for it, so that if we change the value for it, we can find like they are maybe moving quite actually, say like I make it 5, then maybe they will be a little bit quicker, as you can see, right? The changes in the frame for the x coordinate, y coordinate are actually bigger value. When it is a bigger value, or even the rotation is a little bit faster, as you can see. That means actually individual that box rotation, as you can see, a little bit faster. For the angles are getting bigger now. So one rotation to another rotation, that actually they are a little bit faster they have. So if you have according to your wish that which one would be appropriate for you, that actually you can apply. Now let's go for what left, rotate key input. Okay, these are actually some key function that actually you can use the key input especially for your mouse and keyboard, that actually you can use it, that is spatial key function can be used for it. You can check that code actually, that is I think you can understand. It's not very difficult to say, like I'm actually having that rotation. Sorry, that rotation will be done with that that arrow. You can see that this is actually the rotation I'm doing. I'm pressing the key button of left and right key button of my keyboard. Okay, when I'm pressing the left button, it has been rotating that left way. It has been rotating in the right way when actually I'm doing it. Okay, so that's actually that key button function can be used. Very simple program, as you can see in here, that in spin rotation, that is actually we need to do for spin. Its value is 0. Then actually is actually variable, a float type variable has been used. That has been actually used for actually the angle to give, right? Nothing that much different than the previous one we have actually taken. So that actually a variable value you give, and that value definitely will be controlled by that key. So that left key is actually when we are doing that +5, every time +5 unit that has been increasing. So that's why you can see the changes of that it has been happening. And when it is actually right key, it's -5 has been actually changing. So +5, -5, that has been changing with this actually keyboard, that function, and you are calling that key function with this root special function, special key. Okay, so that the display function is display, but key function that actually you can define with that function that you have written. Okay, with under that special function. When you have it in that display, that type actually you are rotating on the basis of that spin. Okay, so this is about this one. And let me go, and keyboard also, mouse also, it can be 3D objects also can be possible to draw. I'll give you that code if it is necessary, you can check it. It is actually by default, there are some many 3D objects are actually defined in our like sample project. Let me check some project. So like roadside view. check some idea, then actually it will be better to understand. So as you can see here, for that, this is actually, I just click on the left button of my mouse and it has been started. And when I right click, it has been stopped, right? Now, this object of this car, as you can see, or even in actually the clouds are actually moving. So I want you do very simple like this. At least you do something like not many objects you have, and try to have a movement. Use some different colors. So do you believe that this house, do you find that this house are actually only one house, maybe it has been created in the code, and use the translation function, right? And then the scaling function, so that just in this position, it creates a view in such a way that this house, that the right side, that house is actually a little bit backside, so that the size is little bit small. Do you understand? The tree has been created, this one single one, here they have used actually another one, two of them together, right? Look at the clouds. They are also actually an object. It's actually having a same object may be used in different, the same way that we have seen that I have moved in that rectangle boxes, that it has been actually moving the same way. All right, as like a circle with a yellow color for sun. The car as well, you can see that they're actually same look-alike car with different colors. So you just actually define that in the different position on your graph and let them actually move. Do you now feel that it is really possible to do at least some work from here?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
It's really possible and very easy. And I actually want you, like you can feel for that exam, after the exam as well, that whatever the project you are going to do, maybe something you have done, you also extend on your free time, that actually you apply some more other things, so that your this idea, because if you do the code in C++, you can do very fundamental work. If you go for actually work in any animation company, say like in Japan, that they will first ask you actually how better you know the C. Okay, because they don't need actually an expert who is a very good user, because they create any three-dimensional those objects as many famous animation character, as you can see, those objects they create and they do the movement. So they are very core and very fundamental programming is required. As you can see, understand now that for very simple one object you are moving from your this two-dimensional screen, how much geometrical actually accuracy you must need for even in the pixel level or the coordinate level, right? So better you do it. I hope that you will like it for doing, because this is something new that you do. I earnestly request you that please do not actually take help from your friend. You take a help for learning, there's no problem, but do not take a help like, okay, please, you are asking your friend, please do it for me or something like that. Then actually it will not help. It will not actually it will not justify actually your work or maybe the project that actually you are going to do, right? You see that these are actually the students work on almost how many years back, 1 2, that means they have passed out in 16 or 17 maybe that time. And if we just quickly check in the program, it may look like, okay, this 1200 lines of programs or something. It's very simple. It's not that much difficult. Only few things you need to handle actually in a difficult way. Again, the main function you can see nothing actually that much special. You might have keyboard function, you have the mouse function, and you have the display function. Mainly these three functions that you are going to use after your initialization. Okay, so that's there are actually some activity with the mouse, what actually you can do. The keyboard, but at first let actually start actually have your that object to create, and then actually you use this object for the movement. So in the, you can see here that they have actually create the circle. Okay, that circle has been used. Then actually the road, that this is actually maybe the WH, I'm not sure actually house or what, the road, how actually you can create the road, okay, and then the ground on the backside, especially the car, they have created a car with multiple number of polygon, line loop, and all these things, lines, and then actually they have used in different place for it, okay.
Sir, the animation we see in science fiction movie, does those created this way?
Sorry, Ashik.
The animation we see on a science fiction movie, does those all
Oh,
created this
okay.
way?
All right. In science fiction movie, does they create this way or not? Okay. The first thing is actually in science fiction movie, you see that the animation they do, not all the things, right? If it is an animated movie, then it is different. But think about something like Avatar, or maybe think about in Terminator, in Titanic, they have some visual effect. You can remember that is actually called the visual effect,
Yes, sir.
animation and visual effect, right?
Yes, sir.
That effect they do for some special purpose, okay, and that special purpose they actually define the screen first, that what actually they are going to do. So we need an object, we need a model, they create the model, say like that Titanic, that ship created a model. Now the scene after scene what they will do, then they actually create. Now the precision of that object, like this is actually the house, you can see here, the resolution, also actually the drawing component for using the OpenGL, these are actually very primary level. But there are many other software, expensive software, they do use actually create the model, and then that model they try to match it as much possible they can do. Or maybe they can take actually the model and some of the image they take as capture with the background with the visual effect, then they use many software for doing the editing for that one, okay. So that's why you can see they're syncing of multiple images, there are actually option for syncing multiple images. So that is more advanced work in the animation studio they have, because they have different devices, software, even the graphics, that adapter and so on.
Like this, sir, the
So
fundamental base on this, right?
right, the fundamental based on this, that's why actually I'm saying, because if you work for any modeling that you are going to do, the simple animation if you want to do nowadays, there are many software, right? You don't need to do these things, you can do many other actually object that you can find. But whenever you going to develop that software, you need to know actually how they work, and when you go for doing or checking that how they work, then actually you need to actually check this one. Like you are going to develop a Windows operating system, right? You need to know actually C Unix very well. Without that, it is not possible. Any operating system if you are going to actually develop. So that's actually the basic or fundamental work that actually we can need to know. So that whenever you go for any graphics related course in master's level, then you will find maybe more other different software as well. But this basic activity, they want to know what actually the two-dimensional transformation you know. If you don't know this basic transformation idea, how you can actually apply it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So these files and the tutorial I will actually upload with you. And if by this time, I think, is there any other, say like this one? Let me check how they look like. Like this windmill, as someone says, there's some keyboard function. I think maybe the day, night, something they have. Something there was maybe. And you see that drawing this one, actually this is not very easy. So if you have two-person as a group, let your one friend to let them to design, give them some idea, then you just distribute the task, that okay, let us do this part by me, this part by me. At least one of the object you have drawn and you are having a movement, that will actually help you, okay.
Sir,
That will
it's
help you to
possible to do,
understand
but
that.
it will take much time. We're
No,
afraid.
that's why we said like you don't need to, like, look, this work maybe you need for 1 month to do. right?
Yes, sir.
But what actually my expectation, at least you have some part of the scene that where actually at least one object is having movement. It should not take that much time, I
Sir,
believe.
we can make any kind of scenario.
You can make any kind of scenario, but my earnest request for Biha that please do not give actually same scenario. It is a very I think own incidents it can happen, right?
No, sir, how can it be same?
Yeah, exactly. I want to take your statement that how it can be actually same. Now, during the submission for your work that time, actually, I'm not telling about you only. I'm telling about everyone that at least they should also believe that how that can be same. But you know that even in I have found like I'm telling this from my experience that students have sometimes something that change. Even I did find out. So yeah, after before midterm actually I assigned the assignment this project, and then I take at least 2 in between middle time to update to know. So that time I found like many students try to make some kind of contract. Okay, you do these things, I will take that one, just change maybe wherever I had sun, I'll make it moon, or maybe the car, okay, I'll change the design of that car, but the basic structure is same. Okay, they try to do it. Actually what happened, still after doing that, you can find the similarity. Means ওই দুইটা ইমেজ সবসময় খুব সিমিলার মনে হয় আর কি। So that thing we try to avoid. At least you do very simple. My request is, this is a place actually for learning. তোমার তোমার মার্ক পাওয়াটা খুব বেশি ইম্পর্টেন্ট না, দ্যাটস অ্যাকচুয়ালি মাই কনসার্ন। সো তুমি তোমার ভালো লাগা থেকে কিছু সময় বের করে আরেক তোমার বন্ধুর সাথে বসে কিছু জিনিস ডেভেলপ করবা, ডেভেলপ করে ওইটা জাস্ট মুভমেন্ট করতেছে আরেকটু কাজ করো যতটুকু সম্ভব করে একটা করো, দ্যাট উড বি বেস্ট।
জি স্যার। স্যার আমার একটা কোশ্চেন ছিল যে স্যার আমরা কি কোনো ফেমাস পেইন্টিং রিক্রিয়েট করতে পারি?
ফেমাস পেইন্টিং করতে পারো, বাট আমার মনে হয় সেখানে কোনো কপিরাইট ইস্যু আছে কিনা আমি ঠিক জানি না, কেননা অ্যাজ ফার অ্যাজ you are actually whenever you are submitting, usually I take a report. ওকে, প্রজেক্টের জন্য আমি একটা রিপোর্ট নেই, বাট আমি তোমাদের কাছে এখন আসলে রিপোর্টের কথা এখনো বলিনি। আমি এখনো বুঝতে পারছি না আসলে তোমরা ওটা ম্যানেজ করতে পারবা কিনা, কেননা যে কোনো আসলে প্রজেক্ট বা অ্যাসাইনমেন্ট সাবমিশনের জন্য একটা রিপোর্ট হওয়াটা হচ্ছে এই কাজ তো একটা থাকবেই, তার সাথে একটা রিপোর্টের একটা ব্যাপারও থাকে। সো আমি মনে হয় রিপোর্টটা অ্যাভয়েড করব। রিপোর্ট থাকলে ব্যাপারটা হতো কি তখন কিছু কপিরাইট ইস্যু হয়, মানে এটা ইউনিভার্সিটি যেমন তুমি যেমন ফেমাস পেইন্টের কথা যখন বলছো, সো তুমি কাজ করতে পারো, বাট আমার মনে হয় যে রিক্রিয়েশনটা যখন করা হবে তখন তো আসলে ওইটা সেম ওটা হবে না, তাই না? তুমি আইডিয়া নেওয়ার জন্য আসলে তুমি এটা করতেই পারো, অসুবিধা নেই।
ওকে স্যার। স্যার আরেকটা কথা স্যার, এই টাইপের গ্রাফিক্স গুলা আমি স্যার ইজ দিস রাস্টার গ্রাফিক্স অর ভেক্টর গ্রাফিক্স?
What do you think? What
Sir,
actually
I think raster graphics.
Definitely raster graphics. Vector graphics এর এখানে কিছু নেই, কেননা ভেক্টর গ্রাফিক্স এর জন্য ভেক্টর ডিভাইস থাকে। তুমি যে ইমেজগুলা গুগলে সার্চ দিয়ে ভেক্টর গ্রাফিক্স হিসেবে দেখো, যে ভেক্টর ইমেজ, ওগুলোও আসলে রাস্টার ইমেজ। অ্যাজ এ রাস্টার ইমেজ তুমি দেখছো, that image may be created by a vector graphics display, but actually that is not, because your display device is raster device. I told you that more than 90% devices are actually raster devices. তুমি pixel based তোমার color identification করা হচ্ছে, তাই না?
Yes sir.
Okay. All right, so thank you very much. Almost 2 ঘন্টা, আসলে আরো বেশি সময় নিয়ে আরো এক্সটেন্ডেড, যেমন কোনো এক সময় মানে এই কোর্সের জন্য ল্যাব থাকলে হয়তো এই বিষয়গুলো ল্যাবে করা যেত, তাই না? এবং স্টুডেন্টদের জন্য আসলে কিছুটা ভালো হয়, এটা সব স্টুডেন্ট আসলে বিষয়গুলোকে মানে সিনসিয়ারলি নেয় না, মানে কিছু কিছু জিনিস আসলে সিনসিয়ারলি নিতে হয়, যে আমি ঠিক আছে এই কোর্সটা করছি, এই জিনিসগুলো আমি আসলে করতে চাই। এখন তুমি হচ্ছে বিভিন্ন প্রবলেম ফেস করবা, এখন তুমি একটা কাজ করতে যেয়ে আসলে যদি প্রবলেম গুলাকে সামনে আনো, তাহলে আসলে হবে কি তোমার লার্নিং সেইভাবে হবে না, তোমার প্রবলেম তো হবেই, প্রবলেম থেকেই তো তোমাকে শিখতে হবে, আর সবকিছু তো শিখিয়ে দেওয়া যায় না।
ভালো হতো, আমরা আরো অনেক কিছু শিখতে পারতাম এটা নিয়ে, ল্যাব থাকলে ভালো হতো।
ল্যাব হলে আরেকটু ভালো হতো, দ্যাটস ট্রু, বাট স্টিল আই থিংক মেবি ইউ হ্যাভ সাম স্কোপ। ওই জন্যই আমরা অ্যাসাইনমেন্ট বা একটু ওই যে তোমার প্রজেক্ট রিলেটেড বা এই ধরনের কিছু একটা টাস্ক রাখার চেষ্টা করি, যে অ্যাটলিস্ট তোমার কিছু আইডিয়াও যাতে থাকে, কাজগুলো আইডিয়াও যাতে থাকে। ইউজুয়ালি তুমি যদি গ্রাফিক্স লেভেলে কাজ করতে চাও, তোমার এর পেছনে যে যে ট্রান্সফরমেশনের যে কনসেপ্ট গুলো, এই কনসেপ্ট গুলো তোমাকে তখন হেল্প করবে। কেননা তুমি তো কাজ করবে ইউনিট ইঞ্জিন নিয়ে বা হয়তো আরো আপডেটেড কোনো সফটওয়্যার নিয়ে, কোড ব্লকসে ওপেন জিএল দেওয়া হয়তো তুমি করবে না ফার্স্ট অফ অল, কিন্তু তোমার লার্নিং ফাউন্ডেশন এই জিনিসগুলো কিন্তু তোমার সেখানে থাকছে, যেটা ইম্পর্টেন্ট, বেশি ইম্পর্টেন্ট। আর তুমি মনে করো যে এখন কোন একটা তুমি প্রজেক্ট করলা, সেই প্রজেক্টে আসলে তুমি এই বেসিক ফান্ডামেন্টাল থেকে তুমি আসলে শিখলা না, তুমি আসলে শিখলা বিভিন্ন লাইব্রেরি ফাংশন, বিভিন্ন কিছু ইউজ করে তুমি একটা করলা। সাপোজ মনে করো যে পাইথন দিয়ে তুমি যদি এখন কাজ করো, পাইথন দিয়েও তো তোমার অনেক অ্যাডভান্স গ্রাফিক্স এর কাজ করা যায়, কেননা সেই লাইব্রেরি ফাংশন গুলো আছে। কিন্তু ওই ধরনের অ্যাডভান্স ফাংশন গুলো কিভাবে কাজ করতেছে, ওই ধরনের একটা ফাংশন তুমি যদি রাইট করতে চাও, তোমাকে আরো ফান্ডামেন্টাল লেভেলে কিন্তু জানতে হবে। সেই জানাগুলো কিন্তু কম বেশি তোমার ওপেন জিএল দিয়ে করা হয়। সেই জন্য এখনো ওয়ার্ল্ডের বিভিন্ন ইউনিভার্সিটিতে কম্পিউটার গ্রাফিক্স কিন্তু ওপেন জিএল দিয়ে করানো হয়, এবং এই ফান্ডামেন্টালি এইগুলো দিয়ে হয়। আমার খুব ক্লোজ স্কুল ফ্রেন্ড আর কি, ও হচ্ছে এখনো অস্ট্রেলিয়াতে তোমার কোনামি টেকনোলজিস একটা হচ্ছে জাপানের একটা টেকনোলজি, যারা হচ্ছে তোমার গেমিং এর কাজ করে, এই গেমিং এর এই ডিজাইনিং এর কাজ করে। ওরা হচ্ছে রিক্রুটই করেছিল ওকে সি প্রোগ্রামের এক্সপার্ট হিসেবে। ওরা কিন্তু তোমার কাজ করে বিভিন্ন সফটওয়্যার, বাট ওরা ওদের যে মানে রিক্রুটমেন্ট পলিসি ছিল বা প্রসেসই ছিল সি। এটা আমি বলছি প্রায় 17 বছর আগের কথা। এবং আমি লাস্ট কিছুদিন আগেও শুনলাম যে ওরা এখনো ওই ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড থেকেই কিন্তু কাজ করে। সো তুমি কি অনেক অ্যাডভান্স অনেক কিছুই তুমি অ্যানিমেশন দেখো, অনেক ধরনের ভিজুয়াল ইফেক্ট দেখো, যেগুলো ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ডে কিন্তু এখনো সি প্রোগ্রামের আছে। এই জন্য সি কে আসলে মাদার অফ দ্য ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ বলে। এবং আমাদের এই যে বিভিন্ন কোর্স গুলো তুমি করো, সাপোজ মনে করো কম্পাইলার, তারপরে আমাদের যেমন সাজেশন আরো ছিল মাইক্রো প্রসেসরের যে কাজগুলো, তারপরে এই এই সমস্ত কোর্স গুলোতে যে লজিক নিয়ে তুমি প্রবলেম সলভিং গুলো করো, সেইগুলোর জন্য সবগুলোর জন্য তুমি ল্যাবে যে প্রোগ্রাম করবা, তাহলে দেখবা তুমি এমনি অটোমেটিক্যালি কনফিডেন্স লেভেল তোমার গ্রো করবে। এবং whenever you will go for actually job interview, you will feel the confidence। এই জায়গাটাতে হচ্ছে ল্যাকিং আছে। স্টুডেন্টরা আমরা দেখি এখন এই প্রোগ্রামিং এর মধ্যে ঢুকতে চায় না, মানে কাজগুলোকে প্রোগ্রামিং রিলেটেড রাখলেই তারা ওগুলো থেকে বেরিয়ে আসা অথবা কোনো একবার ম্যানেজ করে নেয়। ম্যানেজ করে নেওয়াটা খুব সহজ, কারণ এখন তো রিসোর্স খুব ওপেন, এবং ওই ম্যানেজ করে নিয়ে আসার পরে সে কোনোভাবে তো একটা ভালো মার্কটাক পেয়ে গ্রেড পেয়ে যাচ্ছে, কিন্তু ফাইনালি যখন জবের ইসে যাচ্ছে, হয় সে পিএইচপি বেস যাচ্ছে, যেটা তার মনে হচ্ছে যে আমি প্র্যাকটিকামটা এরকম একটা প্রজেক্টে করেছি। আমার একটা পার্সোনাল রিকোয়েস্ট হচ্ছে যে আমরা আমার ব্যক্তিগতভাবে যেটা আমি দেখেছি তোমার বিভিন্ন ইন্ডাস্ট্রি এর সাথে আমরা যখন ডিসকাস করতে গেলাম, তখন ওরা বারবারই বলছে যে আমাদের প্রোগ্রাম ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজের এক্সপার্টের দরকার নাই, কেননা আমি এক্সপার্ট, আমি আসলে 7 দিনে আমার প্রোগ্রামারদেরকে বানাইনি, আমি সেইভাবেই আসলে আমরা কাজ করি। এবং যে স্টুডেন্ট যখন এক্সপার্ট প্রোগ্রামার হিসেবে আসতেছে, এক্সপার্ট প্রোগ্রামার বলতে আমি কি বোঝাচ্ছি, সে তাকে একটা প্রবলেম দিলে সে কুইকলি সলভ করে প্রোগ্রামে সেটা করে ফেলতেছে, সেটা কিন্তু না। তাকে দেখতেছি সে এই প্রোগ্রামের উপরে অনেক কিছু করে আসছে, কিন্তু আমি যখন তাকে প্রবলেম দিচ্ছি, প্রবলেমটা সে অ্যানালাইসিস করতে পারতেছে না। তাহলে তার প্রবলেমটা কি? তার মানে খুব ফান্ডামেন্টাল লেভেলে আপনারা ওদেরকে টেকনিক্যালি কনফিডেন্সটা দিতে পারতেছেন না। তার মানে কি? তার মানেই হচ্ছে তোমার, তুমি কিন্তু সি দিয়ে তুমি আসলে খুব জটিল প্রোগ্রামগুলো করো। এইটার ধরনটা, এটা লজিক বেস, মোস্টলি লজিক বেস। তুমি দেখবা, তুমি এখনো দেখো কম্পিটিটিভ প্রোগ্রামিং গুলো এখনো কিন্তু তোমার সি বেসড প্রোগ্রাম দিয়ে তোমার সলভ করা হয়, যে প্রোগ্রামিং কম্পিটিশন গুলোতে। এখন সেই জন্য বেসিক্যালি তোমাদেরকে কিন্তু একটা এই লজিক রিলেটেড, প্রবলেম সলভিং রিলেটেড যে প্রবলেম গুলো থাকবে তখনই তোমার, কেননা ওইটা তো করা কঠিন, তাই না? এখন তো অনেক প্রোগ্রামিং ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ দিয়ে তুমি কাজ করবে, ওটা করা অনেক সহজ। কত সহজে তুমি কাজ করবে সেটা সবসময় খুব ইম্পর্টেন্ট না, কিন্তু এটাই আমি আর কি মিন করছি। আর অন্তত আন্ডার গ্রাজুয়েট লেভেলে মেইনলি কিন্তু ফান্ডামেন্টাল বেসিক নলেজ গুলো তোমাকে দেওয়া, তোমার অ্যানালাইটিক্যাল মাইন্ড তৈরি করে দেওয়া। তারাও চাচ্ছে যে আপনারা আসলে ওইরকম অ্যানালাইটিক্যাল মাইন্ড তৈরি করেন। সেই জন্য আমরা এখন ডিসিশন নিচ্ছি, হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে, ডেটা স্ট্রাকচার এন্ড অ্যালগোরিদমকে ব্রেক ডাউন করে ওখানে যে ডেটা স্ট্রাকচার অ্যালগোরিদম যে জিনিসগুলো করানো হয় সবগুলো যাতে প্রোগ্রামিং ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ ইমপ্লিমেন্ট করে, সি অথবা সি প্লাস প্লাস দিয়ে করলো, এখন মনে সি প্লাস প্লাস দিয়ে করানো হয়। তাতে স্টুডেন্টের এমনি তোমার মনে করো যে কনফিডেন্স লেভেলটা ভালো আসবে। কনফিডেন্স লেভেল না হলেও সে প্রোগ্রাম দেখলেই বুঝতে পারবে যে এই প্রোগ্রামটার ভেতরে কিভাবে কাজ করছে। ঠিক আছে, সো আমার মনে হয় যে এই জায়গাগুলোতেও তোমাদের একটা সময় বের করে, যারা এখন ক্যারিয়ারের ব্যাপারে চিন্তা করো, তোমাদের সময় বের করে এই জায়গাগুলোতে ফোকাস করা দরকার। এটা কিন্তু আসলে একাডেমিক্স থেকে তোমাকে দিবে না, এটা তোমাকে কিন্তু
বড়
পার্সোনালি আসলে
প্রবলেম হলো
ফোকাস করতে হবে।
কোনো কিছু শুরু করতে করতে একটা টাইম এক্সাম চলে আসে, ওই এক্সামটা শেষ করতে
এটা
করতে
এটা থাকবেই, এটা প্রবলেম না আশিক, এটা রিয়েলিটি। বুঝতে পারছো, এটা রিয়েলিটি। তোমার কাছে এটা মনে হচ্ছে এরকম, তোমাকে এখন তুমি 6 মাস তুমি বসে থেকে তুমি মনে করো যে তুমি নিজেকে সেলফ লার্নিং মোটিভেটেড করবা, তুমি দেখবা যে কাজ খুব বেশি কিন্তু হবে না। সো মানুষের লাইফে প্রেসারটা খুব দরকার, একাডেমিক প্রেসারটা ওই জন্য খুব বেশি দরকার, এবং এই সময়ের মধ্যেই তোমার দেখবা যে কাজগুলো হবে। ডেফিনেটলি ইট ইজ ডিফিকাল্ট, আই ক্যান আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড, বাট তোমাকে তো তোমার শিডিউল করতে হবে, তাই না? তোমার একটা টাইমিং, তোমার একটা প্ল্যানিং, তোমার নিজের একটা রুটিন থাকবে। আমি আমি ওই জন্যই বলতেছি যে এগুলো আসলে মানে হয় কি, আমি আমার রুমমেট ছিল একটা মহারাষ্ট্রিয়ান ছেলে, মেকানিক্যাল ইঞ্জিনিয়ার। ওকে আমি দেখতাম 18 ঘন্টাও পড়াশোনা করতো। আমার রুমমেট ছিল, মানে আমি কিছুদিন লাস্ট 1 বছর একটা সময় আমি একটা হোস্টেল হোস্টেল কাম একটা ইসের মতো জায়গায় ছিলাম ওখানে। তো ওকে দেখতাম 18 ঘন্টা পড়াশোনা করতো। ক্যান ইউ ইমাজিন দ্যাট 18 ঘন্টা পড়াশোনা কিন্তু ভেরি ডিফিকাল্ট। ও কি কখন পড়াশোনা করতেছে, ওর গ্রাজুয়েশন হয়ে গেছে, ওই এমটেকে যাচ্ছে না, ওদের বিটেক বলে মেকানিক্যাল। ও হচ্ছে একটা মিডল ইস্টে কিছু মানে খুব ভালো জব, ওইখানে জবের জন্য অফার ট্রাই করতেছে। ওখানে ওদের কিছু কম্পিটিটিভ এক্সামের মতো হয়, তো সেই এক্সামের জন্য প্রিপারেশন নিচ্ছে আর কি। আর তার মানে ওকে দেখলাম যে ও যখনই এই পড়াশোনার মধ্যে আসে বা পড়াশোনার বিষয়গুলো করে, একেবারে সেইভাবে ওর প্ল্যান করা, কিন্তু যে আমি দিনের এই সময়গুলো এই কাজে করব, এই সময়গুলো এই জিনিসগুলো করব, আর এই সময়গুলো আমি করবো। তো 16, 17 ঘন্টা 18 ঘন্টার প্ল্যানিং রয়ে করে। তো ওইটা আমাকে আসলে আমাকেও খুব হেল্প করছে। আমি দেখছি যে আসলে পড়াশোনার বা একাডেমিক এই সময়গুলোতে তুমি যখন অ্যাজ এ স্টুডেন্ট থাকবা, তুমি যদি প্রত্যেকটা আওয়ারকে ইউটিলাইজ করার চেষ্টা করো অ্যাকর্ডিং টু প্ল্যান, তুমি দেখবে এন্ড অফ দ্য ডে এটা খুব বেনিফিশিয়ারি হবে, এবং এই ডিসিপ্লিনটা তোমার লাইফেও চলে আসবে পরে।
আর আপনি এত এনার্জি কোথা থেকে পান স্যার?
এই এনার্জি এইভাবেই পাইতে হয়, বুঝছো? আমি যে আজকে সকালে উঠছে 7:30টায়, ঠিক মতো রাত্রে তো ঘুম হয় নাই। আবার কালকে আমাদের আবার কারিকুলামের কিছু কাজ নিয়ে একটা বড় প্রায় 10:15 পর্যন্ত মনে মিটিং ছিল। আবার আমার কিছু দায়িত্বও আছে ওখানে, ওইগুলা যে টাস্ক গুলো দেওয়া হয় ওইগুলি নিয়ে আবার আমি রেসপেক্টিভ কলিগদের সাথে যোগাযোগ করলাম, তাদেরকে টাস্কটা বোঝাই দিতে দিতে আবার আজকে সকালের ক্লাসে প্রিপারেশন নিতে নিতে আমি রাত্রে খাওয়া দাওয়া করছি মানে 1টার দিকে, ঘুমাইতে গেছি মনে হয় 2টা 2:30টার পরে। তারপরে আবার 7:30টায় উঠছি। আবার তোমার মনে করো যে ক্লাস ছিল 2টা, ওই ক্লাসগুলো করছি। আবার ফ্যামিলি থাকলে আসলে এই বাইন্ডিংস গুলো চলে আসে, এখন চাইলেও অনেক কিছু করা যায় না। ওগুলা করে আবার আমার এটাও টার্গেট আছে, এর মধ্যে পিচ্চিদের কিছু আমার কাজ করতে হয়, আমরা কিছু ভাগ করে নিয়ে কাজ করি আর কি, আমার মা, আমার ওয়াইফ, আমি। তো ওইগুলো করে টোরে দেখা যায় নিজের জন্য আর সময় তেমন থাকে না। একটু সামান্য রেস্ট নিছি, তোমাদের ক্লাস শুরু করতে করতে চা বানাইছি, কেননা মা দেখলাম রেস্ট নিচ্ছে, নিয়ে এসে তারপরে বসছি, এবং আমি জানি মিনিমাম 2 ঘন্টার ব্যাপার থাকবে।
স্যার
তো
প্রথমে
স্যার
আমাকে
মাঝে
আঁকতে
মাঝে
বলছিল স্যার
তো দেখি
যে আপনি
যে
কোন এনার্জি ড্রিঙ্ক খান। প্রথম বুঝতো স্যার কিন্তু ড্রিঙ্ক খায় না, স্যার কিন্তু চা খায়, চাই এনার্জি।
না শোনো, এনার্জি ড্রিঙ্ক আমি একটি খাইতে হয়েছিল আমার মাস্টার্স এর যখন ফাইনাল প্রজেক্টের কাজ ছিল তখন। আমার কিছু কোর্স ওয়ার্ক সাবমিশন ছিল। আমি যেখানটা জব করতাম, এখন লন্ডনে তো তোমার মনে করো যে জব না করে থাকা যায় না, বুঝছো? ওখানে তো মাসেই প্রায় 80-90 হাজার টাকা খরচ হতো। আমি একটা ছোট রুমে থাকতাম, তাই আর কি মিলায়। তা আমার এই টাকা তো আর বাড়ি থেকে নেওয়া সম্ভব না, টিউশন ফি আছে, ওইটারও লোন টোন ছিল। তা আমাকে জব ওইটা করতেই হতো। তা আমার জবের ওখান থেকে আর কোনোভাবে আমাকে ছুটি দিচ্ছিল না। আমি পরে মানে এমন অবস্থা, সবাই আমাকে অবশ্য মানা করছিল যে তুমি পড়াশোনা করা অবস্থায়, জব করা অবস্থায় পড়াশোনা করো না, কেননা এটা মানে কন্ট্রোল করতে পারবো না, এত এত প্রেশার থাকে। তো সামহাও আমার কি খুব ডিফিকাল্ট হইতো, আমি হয়তো 2-3 ঘন্টার বেশি ঘুমাইতে পারতাম না। ওই বাস ট্রেনে যাওয়ার আসার সময় হয়তো পড়াশোনা করতে হইতো, তখন হয়তো ওই তখন তো ট্যাব ছিল না, আমার একটা মানে বুক রিডার ছিল, কিন্ডেলের একটা বুক রিডার, ওইটাতে স্লাইড গুলা নিয়ে নিয়ে পড়তাম, বা হয়তো যে পার্টটা ওটা নিয়ে, তো ওটা ওইভাবে হইতো না। তা বাসায় ফিরে খুব টায়ার্ড থাকতাম, তারপরেও চেষ্টা করতাম এরকম। তো আমি মাঝখানে 1-2 দিন এরকম এনার্জি ড্রিঙ্ক খাইছি, তারপরে দেখছি যে আমার প্রেশার টেশার গেছে বেড়ে, বুঝছো। এখন আলটিমেটলি এনার্জি ড্রিঙ্ক তো খুব ক্ষতিকর। আর
কন্টিনিউয়াসলি এত ক্লাস নেন, লেকচার দেন, তো আমরা হচ্ছে ডিসকাস করি।
হ্যাঁ, না, আমাকে আমাকে তো ক্লাস এখন কমাই দিয়েছে ওই যে কারিকুলাম মানে ডিপার্টমেন্টের কাজের জন্য। তারপরেও আসলে হয় কি, দেখো আসলে যখন তুমি 3টা সেকশন নিয়ে একটা কোর্স রান করবে না, তোমার ওই আরেকটা সেকশন থাকলে ওইটা তো খুব বেশি লোড হয় না, ওই যে তোমাদের ভাইবা পরীক্ষার সময় লোডটা পড়ে বেশি। কিন্তু মানে আমাকে তো আমার নিজের একটা স্যাটিসফ্যাকশন থাকতে হবে যে আমি আমার অ্যাটলিস্ট তোমাদেরকে তো আমার কিছু দিতে হবে, তাই না? আমি কিন্তু মানে এই জিনিসটা কিন্তু তোমার আরো 2-3 সপ্তাহ আগেই আমার করার কথা, মানে অ্যাকর্ডিং টু মাই প্ল্যান, কিন্তু আমি আসলে ওই যে মাঝখানে